Norse mythology does not begin with a creator god. It begins with a condition, a state of being that has a name, Ginnungagap, a yawning void, an immeasurable in-between. Not a place, and yet it was there. Before there was sky or earth, before sun and moon lit the heavens, there was nothing. No land, no sea, no wind, no time, only emptiness. Ginnungagap was neither cold nor warm, not darkness, not light. It was the complete absence of all things. No matter, no movement, no direction, only the notion that something had to begin here. And from within this silence, a contrast began to stir. Two forces started to separate without touching. On one side, heat. On the other, cold. Between them, still nothing. Norse mythology does not describe creation from nothing. It speaks of tension within nothingness. And this tension would soon give rise to far more than just opposites. On one side of Ginnungagap, the first great element of Norse cosmology emerged, fire. Not as a small flame or gentle light, but as a searing, all-consuming primal force. This realm was called Muspelheim. Muspelheim had not been created, it simply existed, like a spark that ignited itself. It was a place of flames, embers, and ash. No mountains, no seas, no cities, only flickering heat, alive in its own motion. And within this fire lived a being, Surtur, the fire giant. In some traditions, he is the first inhabitant of Muspelheim, a guardian with a sword of pure flame. His role would become crucial in Ragnarok, but even now, he represents more than heat. He is motion, he is danger, he is inevitability. To the people of the North, the idea of Muspelheim was more than myth. They saw its reflection in volcanoes, in firestorms, in lightning streaking across the sky. For them, fire was not just a tool, it was a principle, untamable and essential. Muspelheim was not simply bright. It was not the sun, not light. It was the glowing violence of origin, a place that burns because it cannot do otherwise. The heat of Muspelheim did not remain confined. It expanded. It flowed into the void, not with purpose, but with certainty, like lava seeking its path. Yet the void remained the void, until something entirely different stirred on the other side. For Muspelheim was only the beginning, its opposite was waiting, and only together could they awaken the first traces of life. At the opposite edge of Ginnungagap, a realm took shape. A realm that shared nothing with Muspelheim. Here, only cold reigned. This realm was Niflheim, a place where even time began to slow. Not through magic, but through stillness. Thin mists crept lazily across frozen plains. The ground was brittle, cracking under every step, as if the ice itself refused to be walked upon. The cold didn't come in waves. It was a constant state. It settled into everything, into the air, into the light, into the very stone. Niflheim wasn't silent. It was muffled, like frost-bound wool. Every sound sank away, too heavy to linger. From deep within this frozen world, 9 rivers began to flow, slow and heavy. They were the Elivagar, ancient currents, their names now mostly lost. Fjorm, Sleed, Leiptur. Their waters froze mid-motion. They were sharp like lye, thick like blood. They didn't burn, they corroded. Whatever they touched began to decay. At the very heart of this cold realm lay Hvergelmir, the origin of all rivers, a boiling cauldron of icy water, as ancient as the void itself. Here, the old songs say, lie the roots of the world tree yet to come. The people of the North had no word for eternal void, but they knew cold swamps. They knew mist over moors, black glacial rivers where life wasn't just impossible, it was unwelcome. Niflheim was no myth. It was recognition, a name for the feeling when even fire fails. No gods would dwell here. No humans would settle. This place, Niflheim, was not death. It was the state before life. Stillness in its purest form. Not entropy, but something more absolute. And yet, without Niflheim, no beginning could happen. Only in contrast to Muspelheim's heat could the impossible begin to stir. Only when frost met flame did the first motion arise. The first drip, the first possibility of life. Niflheim remains what it always was. Not the start of all things, but what all things needed to begin. Between Muspelheim and Niflheim, for a long time, there remained only Ginnungagap. But slowly the opposites began to stir, not by will, but by their very nature. Heat flowed outward from Muspelheim. Cold mists and drifting shards of ice seeped from Niflheim. They met in the middle. And there, the unthinkable happened. They touched. No divine will brought the elements together. No conscious act. It was physical, inevitable, causal. The heat began to melt the ice, but not completely. Instead of water, there was steam. Boiling droplets that froze again, or vanished in bursts of vapor. A reaction, not yet a process, and certainly not life. Not yet. And yet, from these first droplets, something began to stir. A form emerged, warm enough to move, cold enough to remain whole. The old sources say, from the clash of fire and ice, the first being came into existence. It had no name. It was barely more than a shadow, but something had been born. Not through creation, but through conflict. The air crackled. Imagine a rumble. The cracking of ice, the hissing of steam, the strike of heat against cold, all within a world that had, until then, been silent. This moment was not quiet. It was a violent awakening, and from that awakening would soon come the first forms of life. Ymir, the primordial giant, and Authumbla, the cosmic cow. Two beings as different as possible. But that is a story for another episode. For now, we understand. The cosmos of Norse mythology does not begin with light. It begins with friction. And that friction is the foundation of everything that follows. Ginnungagap is a concept. And like many concepts in Norse mythology, it is difficult to grasp. Scholars believe that Ginnung is related to magic or tension. Gap is clearer, a rift, an opening, an empty space. So it might be best described as a magical void, a primordial state of pure potential without any shape or structure. In this emptiness, opposites do not just emerge, they emerge because of the void. Without Ginnungagap, there would be no Muspelheim, no Niflheim, and therefore no life, no gods, no world at all. What's fascinating, Ginnungagap is neither good nor evil. It is not divine. It simply exists, and that makes it so central. While many other religions attribute the origin of the world to a deity, Norse mythology takes a different path. It begins not with a will, but with a space. Ginnungagap stands for the greatest mystery. Why does anything begin? Why here? Why with fire and ice? The myths don't explain. They simply show that it happened, and that it never stops. Because even later in Norse mythology, opposites return again and again. Order and chaos, life and death, light and darkness. Ginnungagap is the prologue to all opposites. It is not just the beginning. It is the eternal in-between.